Hello and welcome to a City TV special. Today we'll be talking to one of the most well-known faces in the African Christian move. Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams has been in ministry for over 40 years, has been traversing the continent and other parts of the world with the gospel of Christ. These days he's very interested in kingdom and wants to empower the continent to prosper in other ways. We'll be talking to him about his journey over the 40 years, his friendship with Bishop T.D. Jakes, a man he's very close to, his forays into America and the African American community, and why he thinks that this is Africa's time. He's organizing an interesting program that he will tell us about as well. It's going to be an exciting interview. Stay with us. So welcome back to City TV for our City TV special. As we said, we're privileged to be talking to His Eminence, the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, on a wide variety of issues. And on the 16th of March, he's hosting a very important summit. He's invited his very good friend, Bishop T.D. Jakes, to come and help empower the kingdom. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about his passion for Africa and the kingdom. We'll speak about his special relationship with the African American community, and also discuss some contemporary Ghanaian issues. Archbishop, it's great to have you. Thank you for welcoming us to your beautiful office.
My pleasure.
How are you doing?
I'm wonderful.
What have you been up to?
A lot.
We are only privileged to come here when you are doing an important summit. And it seems to me as if these African business and kingdom leadership summits are very important to you. What is it and why do you care so much about this program?
I believe that leadership is everything. And if Africa, the private sector or the kingdom is going to go anywhere, we need to have selfless leaders and visionary leaders to lead. Without that, we're in trouble. So we need to empower potential leaders of tomorrow and equip them with the necessary skill and understanding to discover their potential, that they are capable of making a difference, and that they are game changers. They were born to make a difference, and that awareness is so necessary with a summit like this kind.
Is that what you mean by the Dominion mandate?
Yeah, the Dominion mandate simply has to do with God's original intent for man to govern and to rule the planet according to his protocol, his original intent. Somehow we've missed it by transgression. The sense of wanting to be independent from God and doing our own thing, we ceded that dominion mandate to the adversary and lost it. And so we've been stranded since. And Jesus came to get us back into the garden, to reconnect us to the Father, to reconnect us to the dominion mandate and to God's original intent, to awake the spirit man that is within, because man is tripartite. Man is a spirit, he's a soul, and he lives in a body.
Some people think we need to spend a lot more time with the spirit, because a lot of Christians don't understand spiritual living yet, and that we need to finish that before we start teaching them the tools of business and all the other things that are additions. What is your view on where the church is in Africa and whether this message is ripe for now?
I disagree with that. Biblically speaking, I am not a man, neither are you a man. Biblically speaking, I'm a spirit, I live in a body, I have a soul, and I live in a body, and I'm trying to understand the human experience rather than being a human trying to have a spiritual experience. If we look at it that way, then we are on the right foundation. So the mentality that we have to try to become spiritual or to have a spiritual experience, we already are spiritual. So that we must make it clear, I'm a spirit. When somebody dies, it's clear that the person has left his body, departed. What has left the person is not the soul, it's the spirit of the person. And the body goes back to dust. From dust comest thou, unto dust shalt thou return. So what I'm seeing is not you. This is your earthen vessel or vehicle or house you live in. The real you is a spirit, and your soul is embodied within your spirit. So we are spiritual beings trying to have a human experience. Therefore, we must understand that we are spirit, soul, and body. We live in a world, and you can't just be spirit, and not understand the rules of engagement or the dynamics of being human.
So when did this next level leadership and kingdom business idea come to you, and for how long have we been doing it?
For the past 3 years, and as a matter of fact, the idea was my wife.
Okay.
You know, it came from her because she was very concerned about the leadership situation in the church, and also having dealt with Africa for over 30 years with a lot of heads of state. She believed that we needed to empower the next generation of leaders. We have to start working with them now. We can't wait. We have to start working with them now to empower them, so the next generation of leadership, you know, will have what it takes so that they don't have to struggle like this generation of leadership.
So what informed the choice of Bishop T.D. Jakes as the speaker for not just this year, because I believe he's been here before?
Yeah.
What informed this choice? What does he bring to this conversation?
He's one preacher who is not just a preacher, but he's into business. And he's a film producer. He does a lot of businesses. He's into real estate. He has investment. He does a lot of things. And he's one preacher also that understands spirituality, and he's also practical as a human being. Understanding your environment, scanning your environment, and understanding how to work your environment with your spirituality. The spirituality gives you an advantage anyway, but it's not just enough to be spiritual. The spiritual must empower the natural for you to excel and do better than those who just depend on the natural without spirituality or the spiritual. And he's one person that is very practical, down to earth, understands spirituality, and understand how to deal with the business well and how to do well and excel at the marketplace.
So who is the target? What kind of person should be at this event, and what would they learn?
We are looking at leadership at all levels. Anyone that influences others is a leader. And you are a leader in your own way because you have people that look up to you and people you influence. And in that sense, you are a leader in your own right. So we are looking at people from the political, the economic, social, and also religious leaders. Because one of the things that disadvantaged me over the years was the fact that I did not separate the spiritual from the business aspect of the church. You know, and I realized as the years have gone by that I could have done a lot more than I have accomplished if I separated the spiritual from the business aspect of the running of the church. You know, so I think that men of God and spiritual men and women must take advantage of this next level of leadership to understand that to be a leader, you have to know where your strengths and your weaknesses are. And leadership depends on information. You cannot grow beyond your level of knowledge. And knowledge is progressive and it's an ongoing thing. So you can't stop learning and you can't stop having knowledge, because your leadership ends at the place of your knowledge and it ends at the place of your understanding. The continuity and the longevity of every leader is determined by one's level of knowledge and understanding. When you lack that, you begin to diminish or you begin to die.
You made a point I need you to elaborate on. You're saying initially you did not separate the spiritual from the business.
Yeah.
Why do you have to separate the two? Because one would imagine that the spirit is first, and based on the principles you get from being a believer and having the Holy Ghost, you then apply those principles in business. So explain a bit what you mean by having to separate the spiritual from that. Does it mean that if it's business and somebody comes for your money, you say this one, we'll put church aside and we'll deal with you? Is that what you're trying to say? Can you explain that properly?
Yeah, you have to be relational, but you also have to be transactional. When I say transactional, is, for instance, we live in a country, you're dealing with laws and rules. And you don't live independently of the laws of the country. And in running a church or in being a spiritual person, you need to develop a lot of compassion and you need to deal with a lot of sympathy. There is that aspect of the church, but there is also the business aspect of how things are done, how things are run, that you need people well informed in those areas with understanding of how the rules of engagement works. What are the laws of the country? What is required? How do you deal with issues of taxes and so many other things? When you lack knowledge in these areas, it can hurt you. It can really hurt you. And I think that, as I said in the beginning, I could have done more than I have done so far or achieved if I had separated both.
But some people think that Christians in running business ought not play by the rules of the world, because the perfect example of Christ suggests there's a higher and a better way. So that, yes, you are a Christian businessman, but you may have to do things in a different way. Talk to me a bit about that, and whether that's the kind of thing we are going to be talking about. Because if you have believers running business, yes, they have to obey the rules and pay tax and everything else. But you expect them to be more compassionate, you expect them to be more honest, you expect them to be more transparent than the non-believer. Because Christ is the highest standard based on what Christians believe.
Definitely, Bible says we are the light of the world. So we bring clarity, illumination, vision, direction. That is the role of the Christian. And we are the salt of the earth. We bring balance, change, check decay. So definitely all those things you've said is right, is true. But to succeed in business, you don't succeed with compassion or sympathy in business. In business, you use your head, you don't use your heart. And that is a whole other issue we can talk about another time. And that is where, over the years, I felt that I didn't separate the two. Because you won't do well in business if you operate business by compassion and by sympathy. You're not going to go anywhere.
But prayer will still work in business.
Prayer will work in business, but you got to use your head. Use your heart to pray. But when it comes to business, the transactions and everything, you have to use your head.
Some of the people I see on the brochure, apart from yourself and Rosa Whitaker, Bishop T.D. Jakes, I've seen Aisha Sise and Joel Nette. And I've also seen external advisors, including Dr. Gail Whitaker and Dr. Lisa Samero. Talk to me a bit about what these people are bringing. Who are these guys and what are they bringing to the conference?
Aisha, she will be dealing with managing media crisis, how to manage and respond to media crisis, which is part of the, if you are going to do well in business, you must know how to work the media. And those were things that, as I was coming up, I was very ignorant about when it comes to dealing with the media. And when it comes to dealing with the media, it's not a matter of compassion or spirituality. You must have understanding and clarity. You have to scan your environment and know how things work and then respond accordingly.
On that media note, we'll take a break because I know you were talking to somebody. We're having a chat with Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams on the upcoming Africa Business and Kingdom Leadership Summit. His dear friend Bishop T.D. Jakes is going to be here. Rosa Kuteka, his wife, is also going to be part of the program, and it's happening on the 16th of March. We'll also talk about other things. His heartbeat for the African continent. We'll speak about Ghana. Ghana is an eternal subject on his heart. The state of the church, there appears to be a lot of disunity and all those issues. We'll come back after this. Don't go away.
It's inspiration. It's the word. The teachings.
When is your time? When is your season? When is your turn? No amount of lies, no amount of liars, political liars, financial liars, family liars, hatred or spiritual liars, no amount of it can stop you.
Tune in to Voice of Inspiration with Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. on City TV.
So far we've spoken about the Saturday business conference, but I know you will not bring Bishop T.D. Jakes to Ghana to just come and do a one-day event.
No.
So surely the program is more elaborate. Can you walk us through the rest of the program?
Yeah, we have the Saturday the 16th is from 8:30 in the morning. We have breakfast, and then we go on, then we have lunch, and then we end by 4.
Okay.
And so that's why we have different speakers. Then on Sunday night, the 17th, we have the grand finale. And you don't have to register to come.
Open to the public.
It's open to everybody. This particular one on the 16th, you register and get a ticket to come.
So you can go online and register.
You can go online and register. Yeah.
And I'm told there'll be dinner for partners and things like that.
Yeah, dinner for partners and especially for sponsors with Bishop Jakes on Sunday. On the Saturday night, he's coming with a lot of businessmen and women. Footballers, some heavy guys, who...
So the Sunday program will be at the church or outdoors?
At the church.
Inside,
yeah.
So we have to come early, otherwise
and then we'll have an overflow in the tent.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the African American community, because when President Trump was elected, you were one of the few African leaders who went to pray. You've been at the prayer breakfast a few times. I also know that you're one of the first African preachers to really be accepted by the African American community. What is your relationship with that part of the world? Why are you so emotionally attached to the African American group?
I lived in America for a number of years. And whilst I lived in America, I did a lot with the African American community. I spent a lot of time working with them, and I understand them and their pain. They've been through a lot, and they have a lot of unanswered questions on their mind. And coming from Africa, it reminds them of their roots. And I've learned to identify with them as it relates to their roots and also their pain. And so we build a strong bond and relationship during the times I live in the United States for about 8 years.
How do they feel about Ghana? I was reading recently that Ghana is the African country with the most slave forts. And some people say that means that a lot of the people who left came through here. And I noticed a lot of them, when they want to come to Africa, Ghana is somehow very special. How do they feel about Ghana and the role we played, the role our ancestors played in the slave trade?
It's positive. It's not negative.
Okay.
You know, they are not bitter. They just want answers. And they are very excited about leaders like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and then President Mandela. You know, they get excited to see black leaders standing tall, doing well, leading their people, visionary leaders, selfless leaders, creating things. And because it's like in the United States, they've been through so much of being ostracized, looked down upon as people who, you are slave, you have nothing to offer. You know, they call them different names, you know. So when they see African leaders doing well for their people, it gives them a lot of hope, it gives them a lot of confidence, and they feel like, hey, listen, all hope is not gone. We can do something. We are capable of doing something. We have what it takes. We are good people. We are not good for nothing. You know, we are just here by some kind of a default, but it's not that we on our own. If we are in Africa, we live in marts houses and we sleep with lions and all those kind of images that is painted.
Do you think you can play a role? The president of Ghana has declared 2019 as the year of return. You have a very strong relationship with influential African Americans. What role do you think you have in driving a lot of African American traffic back to Ghana and Africa to take part in tourism, to come and strengthen the church, to come and be part of the development? Is that part of your mandate?
I wouldn't say that that is part of my mandate. I'm a preacher. And I preach to African Americans, Caucasians, I preach to Japanese, Chinese, you know, Filipinos, anybody, you know. So, but I do bring a lot of African Americans to Ghana, like the visit of Bishop Jakes is coming with almost about 80 people.
80?
Yeah, some big
on
boys
this trip?
On this trip.
Wow.
You know, if I'm asked to do something, definitely I can use my influence to pull strings, to talk to a lot of bishops, the African American community, to encourage them to be part of this national vision.
Some people think there's a prophetic role African Americans have in developing the African continent. I've even heard people say that what their ancestors went through to get to that country was to learn some of the tricks of prosperity and come and strengthen us here. Would you go as far as say that there is that sort of prophetic link between what they went through and the road they have and Africa's development?
Definitely that possibility is there, because the African American community is, a lot of them are wealthy. A lot of them are really blessed and have come into a lot of prosperity, that if leaders of Africa can engage them and invite them to come here and give them a sense of belonging, dual citizenship, certain privileges here and there, we'll be able to bring a lot of them down, and they have some deep pockets. You know, if we can entice them and encourage them to come down.
Finally, on African, some people were not happy that you went to pray when Trump was having that initial prayer program, because some people feel Trump doesn't like black people. And of course, many Africans were happy with Obama, but they felt that you being a leader from the continent, went to endorse his alleged dislike for black people by going to pray for him. What was your thought process in agreeing to be at that very important event?
I didn't go to pray for him as an African or a black person. I did it as a man of God and as a spiritual person. My services was needed, and I rendered my services with spirit of excellence. So if anybody has a problem with the black man, here is a black man to them who comes and delivers and excels at a level and a frequency they are not used to, and they have to deal with it.
So you are saying it wasn't an emotional decision to go pray because you are a supporter. You were sent there to go and deliver a service.
Of course, and to represent the kingdom as an ambassador of Christ. So it wasn't a matter of being black or being white. I'm a man of God. It's like a man of God is like a doctor. Okay, I may not like you, but if you have a problem and I'm called upon as a doctor to fix you up, I'll do it. I may not like you,
so
but that's
the service you were to perform was prayer.
Yeah.
It means your prayers are legendary. We've seen footages of a prayer you prayed at your friend Bishop T.D. Jakes' church.
Yeah.
People have some of your prayers on their mobile phones as ringtones. I don't know if they pay you for the ringtone.
No.
You seem to have a love and a revelation of prayer which is different from some of your contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
Why is prayer so important to you?
Because to me, by my personal revelation and conviction, prayer is a meeting place between divinity and humanity.
A meeting place
between divinity and humanity. It is in the place of prayer that humanity engages divinity.
So it's the most powerful place to be.
It is the secret place of the Most High.
But it's a ritual in many churches.
It can be, but to me, it's revelation. It's revelation. And it shouldn't be ritual, it should be revelation. In the sense that Jesus said men ought to always to pray and not to faint. Always to pray and not to faint. We talked about the dominion mandate. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, in the Garden of Eden, prayer was not necessary because man hadn't lost the dominion mandate or sinned. So prayer wasn't necessary. As soon as man lost the dominion mandate, through independence from God, he ceded it to another personality, Satan. So Satan then, 2 Corinthians 4:4, became the god of this world and hijacked the dominion mandate. And therefore, man lost his original place on this earth. And as a result of that, God cannot deal with man without an invitation from man.
The Almighty God.
He cannot.
Why? Because man sold
the dominion mandate that gave God the right to visit with man, like in the Garden of Eden, to fellowship with man, was taken out of the way. And Satan is now in charge of this world. So God, even though he can overrule it, by the rules of engagement, God cannot on his own come into town without the invitation of man. And prayer is the invitation of man to God. And it also gives God authorization to intervene in the affairs of men. For instance, Nobody can come into this world without the womb of a woman. You can't be born. You can't come into the planet without the womb of a woman. The womb of a woman is the legal entry point to the earth. That's why Jesus himself, being God, had to be born to come in the legal way. Other than that, Satan will accuse the justice of heaven. And God is a just God, and God cannot be accused. So God himself had to wrap himself in the womb of a Virgin Mary to come the legal way. So prayer is one thing that gives heaven authorization to come to earth to act on the behalf of humanity. So when we don't pray, we deny God the authorization and the right to intervene in the affairs of our lives and to act on our behalf.
A few years ago, you prayed for the Ghana cedi, and some people thought that was misplaced. As I'm talking to you, the cedi is still struggling, and I think there are different views about that now. Why did you think prayer could affect the exchange rate of a currency?
Prayer is a spiritual weapon, and it knows no limits. And there are different levels of prayer or kinds of prayer. But the bottom line here is, when you pray, you are engaging God, divinity, and you are pleading with him to intervene in the affairs of men or to intervene in the economy of a nation, to give to leaders and to those who make decisions concerning the economy to take the right decisions that will help the economy to do well and to do better. I don't see why we shouldn't talk to God about the state of our economy and our currency. If we talk to God about other matters, and God can do anything, all things, and the Bible says, for with God nothing is impossible, nothing, including the exchange rate and our currency, and all things are possible to him that believes. I believe, and so I pray.
We're still having chats with His Eminence Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, trying to, of course, understand the upcoming conference he's organizing, but also his mind on certain interesting points. We'll talk about the African continent now. And I know you travel around a lot, and it would appear to me that these days you are very interested in the Africa issue. So whether you're in DR Congo or you're in Nigeria or Ethiopia, you seem to carry some sort of burden. Tell me a bit about how you see where the continent is.
To be honest with you, prophetically, I believe that we are in a good place prophetically, and what we need to make a difference is having selfless and visionary leaders. Leaders who are generational thinkers, who think about the next generation and not themselves. Leaders that are willing to be misrepresented, to sacrifice and give up their comfort and whatever they like and want in this life for the benefit of others. Like, for instance, Madiba Mandela, when he was in prison, apartheid had asked him to go home at a particular time to be with his wife, kids, and grandchildren. And he refused to go home because he said that if going home to be with his family will still keep his people, for which he's been in prison for all these over 20 years, then he doesn't want to go home. he will still remain in prison until the people for which he had been in prison and suffered all these years are set free. Those are the kinds of leaders we are looking for, who are willing to sacrifice their freedom, their lives, their comfort for the benefit of others and for generations yet unborn.
So that's your burden for Africa. We need selfless leaders.
We need leaders who have a heart for their country, for their people, and have a vision for their people. If you look at, I was with the president of Kagame.
Rwanda.
Yeah, Rwanda. I spent some time with Kagame and prayed with him. And I scanned the guy, the man. And you can tell that this is somebody who is determined to make a difference for his people, for his country. And he has a clear vision. And it's not about him. It's about how Rwanda will stand up and tall among the flags of nations, and how his country and people can be different from even other African countries. And we need many of that kind on the continent. And I believe they are here. And we need to empower them. We need to discover them. We need to wake them up. We need to provoke them to good works.
This is still a City TV special. We're speaking to Archbishop Duncan Williams. We'll be right back to wrap up with some more interesting points. Stay with us.
The conversations that help you shape your spiritual journey as a Christian. Find the answers you seek. Catch the 700 Club with Pat Robertson every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. on City TV.
Welcome back. We're still talking to Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, who is organizing the Africa Business and Kingdom Leadership Summit with TD Jakes. And of course, it's a program that will hold on the 16th of March. But we're talking and picking his brain on a couple of issues. You celebrated 4060. This was 2017. 40 years in ministry. You've seen a lot. Are you concerned about the state of Christianity in Ghana? Some people feel that the church is not... It's too divided. Some people feel the impact of the church, there's a lot of corruption in the country, and the Christians are not being the salt they should be. So for at least 40 years of charismatism and the number of people who profess Christianity, we should have a lot more honest society. And they feel we are not feeling the salt. What's your assessment of the role, the church in Ghana?
I disagree. I think the church in Ghana has done a lot. Apart from building hospitals and schools and many other things we do, and there is room for improvement, and there is more we can do anyway. So I would say that, but the church has done a lot. The issue of division among the churches and all that is a maturity issue. And I think that a lot of people are coming to the place of maturity and realizing that we need one another. There is no room for some of the insecurities and the fears that people used to have maybe 10, 20 years ago when we were young. I'm in a place right now where I have a relationship with some of the bishops that if you leave my church, and go to some bishop I relate to church, it doesn't matter. It won't affect my relationship with him at all. And the same.
The question I ask is in two ways. You said the church is building schools and churches and things. Some people feel we are not transforming believers well enough. So there's a lot of people who come to church as churchgoers. They are not shining. They are not excelling at work. They are not honest. They are not living by example. They are not impacting their communities. They are not changing the social fabric well enough. And people trace that to the watered down messages they are receiving. Because this is where they are spiritually fed.
I disagree with that. If you look at America, they've had Christianity for over 200 years. They succeeded through the founding fathers to institutionalize truth, where it operates and it literally goes across their entire system. The culture of the country is a culture thing. We need to find ways to institutionalize truth to the extent where we have structures that compels people not just to live by what they are taught at church, but whether you are in church or you are out of church, the same truth is confronting you out there. And I strongly believe it's going to take time for the church in Ghana to be able to raise up a generation that will bring them into that level of honesty and integrity you are talking about. And that's why my focus have always been the youth. Because if we can catch them at that young age and work with them and instill in them the principles and the protocols of the kingdom and understanding of values and consequence before they get out there at the marketplace, whether it's politics or whatever they are doing, they will be the salt and they'll be the light of the world.
I like the concept of institutionalizing truth. Some people feel that because of that, our church leaders need to spend more time focusing on imbibing Christ-likeness in followers than in building monuments. And the contrast, I'm not even at National Cathedral yet. A lot of churches focus on the buildings, the projects, the programs, and yet a lot of people in the church don't know anything. When you engage them on a simple discussion about even they are being born again, they can't say anything. And they don't even know how to pray. Don't you think the church leadership has not focused well enough on, don't forget it says, we should keep the main thing, right? He spoke to the Pharisees. And he chastised them for not prioritizing the weightier matters of the law. He says, you Pharisees, you hypocrites, you pay the tithe on the anise and the cumin, and you have forgotten the weightier matters of the law, mercy, judgment, and faith. Is that message not relevant to the church leadership in Ghana today?
It is. It is relevant. It doesn't take just the teaching of faith and justice, judgment, or even holiness, sanctification, justification, purity. All those things are being taught. The Bible says you've made the word of God of none effect through the traditions of your fathers. You must understand that we are dealing with strong traditions over here, that when you are preaching the word and teaching people the word, you have other things that contradicts what they are hearing when they leave church and they go home and they go out there. And we've seen a lot of great people, good people, from their 20s, now in their 40s and 50s, living for Christ and making a difference. I mean, people like you were brought up by the church. I heard you speaking and I was saying that is among the prophets too. So you are a testimony of the work of the charismatic church that we've done, and so many others, thousands and millions out there who have come to the knowledge of the truth, the light and the Son of God. I think where our greatest problem is the area of our politics and our political parties, the way it's set up, the way it's handled, and the fact that a lot of Christians have ceded their right to go into politics and have this notion that politics is bad, it's evil, and therefore they don't want to get involved in it. And they've just left it for whoever wants to go there and do politics. And so we have ceded our dominion mandate again by saying that politics is a bad thing. Now, you won't go into politics, and at the same time, you are condemning those who go into politics. So who should go? You won't go. You say you are righteous, you are holy, you are the light of the world, you are the salt of the earth. So you won't go into politics. Politics is bad. And other people say, hey, we care, we'll go into politics. Then when they go, you are condemning them, attacking them, saying they are corrupt, they are this, they are that, they are that. So you that is the light and the salt, why don't you go in there and change things and stop complaining?
Maybe because the whole world lies under the sway of the wicked one. And as you yourself said, the enemy is the one in control, because you said man ceded this dominion mandate to Satan. So the political system is controlled by forces that don't like light.
Yeah, but the weakness of darkness is light. So that's why light.
So you sincerely believe Christians should enter politics?
Well, of course, absolutely. Absolutely.
But as if they have the calling.
Going to politics is not a calling.
Everything is a calling.
Everything, well, it depends
on
how you
by
define.
Calling. You can't enter politics.
It depends on what you define, how you define a calling.
You had a calling to be in ministry, because that is God's mandate for you.
I agree.
So you can't enter politics without a calling if you're a believer.
No. You see, this is spiritualizing things.
No.
So you sit there, and a lot is going wrong in your community. And you claim, I'm the light of the world, I'm the salt of the earth, and God is giving you capacity to make a difference, to be a game changer. You see needs in your community, there's something you can do about it, and you don't do anything. Governance begin at the level where you are. I went to a community recently in Ghana, and I saw all these beautiful homes, over 100 of them. Beautiful homes and beautiful cars, and the road so bad. And I said to myself, how can they build houses like this and not come together and do the road? It's a mentality. That is where governance and leadership begins from. Somebody must take the initiative to engage the people in that community and say, hey guys, let's come together. Let's put our monies together. We live in a beautiful community like this. The roads are bad. Let's fix the road. I remember I used to live in an area and the roads were so bad that I went house to house talking to the people that we should come together and do the road. And they weren't interested in doing it. And one person, as a matter of fact, insulted me. Who appointed me to come and disturb them about us doing the roads and everything, let the government do it. So after a while, I got some friends of mine who helped me out, and some people in the church who were contractors, and they came and they helped me do the road. And they did the road to a point. And some people were angry with me that I stopped the road at a particular point and I should have continued.
Anyway, the same people who criticize you for coming to add them to the road.
It's a mentality.
Okay.
So leadership is at every level.
Okay.
You can't go to the national level, change anything, if you haven't done anything at the level where you are in your community.
I'm going to wrap up by going back to the question I asked, which I feel you didn't really address, the issue of the focus of the church leadership on the externals when the internals are weak. And I'll say, for example, I can guess that in the 70s and 80s, when you started this movement, the believers in your churches knew more of the word, could pray better, and lived holier lives, and were more content, and were probably more influential than a lot of people who occupy some of the big churches today. Some say it's a failure of focus, because as the church grows and the organization becomes large, the kinds of things you were able to teach when they were smaller, you are not able to do so. And therefore, a lot of people are just nominal in the church.
It's not true. We have cells. Through the home cells, we break down the word at that level among maximum 10 people. So we have 5, 7, 8, maximum 10. And if they grow beyond 10, we divide them so we can break bread and fellowship and bring down the word and feed them.
So you don't agree that a lot of Christians these days are gullible to false prophets because of their weak word base? How they flock to very dubious people who do all kinds of things in the name of church. A lot of people who come to the mainstream churches still go to these places where they don't even properly account for the word. Is that not a question of lack of substance?
But you can't say that that is the state of the church. That is just...
But if you take the average church member in the SU days in the 80s, who had gone through proper word schooling, where they could test the spirits and they could check, like the Bereans, what they were taught, you didn't have some of the things happening. So you need to admit that a lot of believers today are not as savvy in the word as they were in those days.
No. Have you been to some of those churches?
We see them on TV.
Yeah, you see them on TV.
We see the things they do.
So scan and see the kind of people who go there. See the kind of people who go there.
Some of the members here too go there.
No. I wouldn't accept that.
Okay.
Because we bring a lot of clarity on the prophetic, the spirit of prophecy, the gift of prophecy, and the office of the prophet, and the purpose of prophecy. So there is nobody that is in this house that is grounded, that will go to certain places to want to go and hear a prophecy. And we also have in-house prophets, so I wouldn't say that the state of the church in Ghana is bad as a result of some of the prophetic waves, because at every generation you deal with these waves. When tongues came, speaking in tongues, it was a wave. There was a whole confusion about it, and it died down. Take the faith movement. It was a wave. Everything was faith. Having faith in God and then having faith in your faith. Then the prosperity. It was a wave. There was a whole issue on prosperity. And after some years, it died down. Even the charismatic church, when I came on the scene, they used to call me Mushroom Church. We are no more mushroom now. So this thing about the prophetic is a wave. It will pass. And I think we shouldn't dwell on it so much to the point where we now believe that is the failure of the church or the leadership of the church. No, because some of the people who go to those churches assume that it is God's house. And I've dealt with a lot of people who come around, like I dealt with a situation where a prophet came to see me and said he had a dream. And in his dream, he saw that he was giving people butter. These butter from the north. What do you call that?
Share butter.
Share butter. And people were getting healed and cripples were waking up and they were getting healed. So he's going to start giving people share butter. So what do I think? And I said, it's a powerful revelation. But the interpretation is wrong. So he said, what do you mean? And I said, the Bible says, when I wash my feet with butter, then the rocks will give me rivers of oil, which is Jesus. So I said, you know what God is telling you? God wants you to feed the flock with the word. Give them more of the scriptures. Give them the word, scripture, Bible studies. Feed them with the word. And the healing and the miracles and the prosperity will flow. He said, Papa, you've caught the thing. You're a real prophet. You see, he means well. Okay, I'm not holding brief for false prophet. He means well. But I was sitting there and I said, wow, can you imagine what this guy would have done if he didn't come to talk to me?
And many more are doing.
That's it, for me to give him direction. So after share butter, he will now have another dream about something else that he saw in the dream that he has to do. So some are genuine that are looking for direction and are misled because nobody wants to speak truth to them.
Good. I think we will make more time and talk about that later, how we can organize to bring those people into proper schooling. But let's end with the National Cathedral. Why is it important at this time?
I think one is a God thing for us to have a national cathedral. I believe it's a God thing. And as much as it's been dragged into politics, my motive for being part of it is for God and country. Because I believe that we have a window concerning this national cathedral. And if we fail to take advantage of the opportunity we have and make it happen, posterity will curse us.
Why must it be state-led? Why can't the Christian leaders, with all the resources they control, come together and put up a monument for themselves and invite whoever is president to come and do a program there? Why must it be the other way around?
But it's not state-led.
But the president was in the U.S. recently to raise funds for the cathedral.
Yeah, he didn't raise the funds. I raised the funds. He's not raising funds. I raised the funds.
So what was he doing there?
He just came. He shared his testimony and vision of how important he believes in this national cathedral, and that it was a vow he made before he came into office, that if God gave him the opportunity to become a president, he will see to it that a national cathedral is built for God. I think that as time goes on, he, even though he initiated it, he's the visionary. And you may say that it was his vow. We are taking it away from him and state and bringing it to a place where the church leadership will take ownership of it. But I think that we should not ignore or forget the fact that God used him to initiate it. And I think we should come to a place and be very honest. You give credit to where credit belongs and honor to whom honor belongs. It should have come from any one of us, but it didn't. It came from him. And I realized where we missed it, that right from the beginning, we should have involved certain stakeholders and everything. So if you realize the other time we went to talk to President Rawlings, we also went to talk to President Mahama. President Kufuor wasn't available at that time, so we are yet to see him. And we're trying to engage stakeholders to make it more national. But I think that people should disabuse their mind about the fact that this is a national thing, and what do you call it? It's a state-owned thing. It's the state, and it's state's money, and it's government that is doing it. I think that sometimes we should be fair, and I think sometimes we are very suspicious, of everything, and anything that has to relate to a particular individual is politics, and I don't know why certain people are involved in the National Cathedral, but my reason and motive for being part of the National Cathedral is not politics. It's God and country.
Thank you for talking to us. We wish you well in the program. And we hope we get the chance to talk again soon.
My pleasure.
We'll be speaking to the Archbishop, His Eminence Nicholas Duncan Williams, on a variety of issues, including his upcoming Africa Business and Kingdom Leadership Summit, starting on the 16th, the Saturday. There's a big Sunday event, which the public is invited. We've also picked his mind on many things: the state of the church in Africa, our relationship with the U.S. and the Black American community, and also the African continent and the window for development. We hope you've enjoyed it. My name is Bernard Avle. Thank you for watching CCTV. Have a good day.